An attack on the lines of Pearl Harbor has possibly marked a new shift in the Russia-Ukraine war. On the 1st of June, Ukraine struck 5 air bases in Russia using first-person view remote-controlled drones. Ukraine claims damage to 41 Russian aircrafts, including nuclear bombers. Zelenskyy revealed that this drone attack was planned for over 1.5 years. The drones were placed in remotely parked trucks in 20-feet containers, from where they were released one by one, striking the air bases. This comes as Russian and Ukrainian delegations have reached Istanbul for peace talks. What will Russia's response to this strike be is the big question. Andrea Lucidi, war reporter, is joining us live from Moscow. We also, in fact, have Dr. Sergei Dvoryanov, president of IDC Russia and director WHT International, joining us live from Moscow. Ambassador Bhashwati Mukherjee, former diplomat, is joining us live. Adit Kothari, foreign affairs expert, is live with us. Wing Commander Bharat Bhushan, former senior officer of the Indian Air Force, is also with us on the broadcast. Let me begin with you first, Dr. Dvoryanov. How are people in Russia and, of course, the government there viewing this latest attack by Ukraine, which is, the first of its kind in this war?
Yes, thank you so much for this opportunity to speak on this discussion. I'm right now in State Duma, in Russian Parliament, inside the Russian Parliament, like advisor of member of Russian Parliament. As a citizen of the Russian Federation, let me say this with complete clarity. Russia is a peace-loving country, of course. Everybody knows this. But we are not a nation that can be intimidated. We are the nation who can be destroyed. We respect global peace. But if anyone dares to our land, harm our people, our change, or challenge our defense, we are, of course, will take care about the future of our nation, and we will respond for this terroristic attack for sure.
How considerable has the damage been to your air bases in particular?
First of all, right now Ukraine is very weak on that's why what they can do, they can only found some.
Dr. Dvoryanov, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear.
I think we've lost you, Dr. Dvoryanov. Okay, I'm going to try and reconnect with you, but let me quickly, in fact, also at this point, rope in Andrea Lucidi. Andrea, this, of course, is very serious incident, an attack, of course, on your country by Ukraine. Ukraine says this was done after a considerable amount of planning by them. How is this really being perceived in Russia?
Well, of course, the people was surprised from this attack. I'm located now in Lugansk, in the new region of Russia, in the Russian side of Donbass. And also here, this news was like a big surprise, because it's the first time that Ukraine used FVP drone inside the Russian territory. And it seems that this operation was prepared in the Russian territory. So this is a very important information. Because this means that the Ukrainian special service works a lot for many times for prepare this operation, and this operation was not complete for a coincidence in this time, in this date, at the 1st of June. Because this is my opinion that someone in Kiev wanted to complete this operation before the second round of peace talking, because some group of powers of the Ukrainian regime want to make some sabotage against the possibility of peace between Russia and Ukraine. And this is very, very pity in my point of view, because here the people don't want the war with the West or some other country.
Well, let
The
me ask
people-
you then, Andrea, what is going to be the impact of this attack on the peace talks in Turkey? Russian delegation and Ukrainian delegation has arrived in Istanbul. A shadow, though, over the talks because of these attacks.
Well, I read the Ukrainian condition that the agency Reuters published yesterday about the future of these peace talks, and simply that seems to me that the Ukrainian side it is not available for any real progress for reach the peace, because they continue to speak about for example, the use of foreign peacekeepers in Ukraine, in Russian territory and the Ukrainian territory. So that's mean that Russia cannot accept such condition. And since, for example, since months, weeks, Dmitry Peskov, the spokesman of the Kremlin, said that for reach a peace, it's necessary to speak about, to discuss about the causes, the grounds of this conflict, the
Yes.
motivation
Has
of this conflict.
the Kremlin officially reacted to this fresh incident, this attack?
At the moment, I don't read anything about the reaction by the Kremlin for this attack. I'm sure that at this moment the Russian officials are talking each other for decide which.
How considerable has the
counter-
damage been? We're learning multiple airplanes were hit as a result of this.
Yeah, but it's important to say that the nuclear capacity of Russia and the strategical capacity of Russia was not impacted by this attack, because only a strategical airplane was hit, and the number is really different to the declaration of the Ukrainian Special Service. They spoke about 40 were plane destroyed by this attack, but the Ministry of Defense of Russia Federation said that only 2 aircraft were destroyed, and like 6 or 7 aircraft was damaged by this attack, but not 40. Also, I saw only a visual confirmation of 6 aircraft that was damaged by the Ukrainian FPV drones. So now, of course, it's complicated to understand the real number of the aircraft that were damaged. But I don't think that the Ukrainian declaration is completely true, because they want to reach some results for their Western partners. So for Kiev, it's very important to say at the European Union, look, with your help, with your money, with your weapon, we can reach some results. This is the main objective of such operation. It's most propaganda than effective damage to the Russian military system.
Okay. Let me, in fact, to quickly rope back in Dr. Dvoryanov. I believe he's back with us. Dr. Dvoryanov, you were telling us about the damage that has been done to the various air bases, where this is most serious and considerable, and what the details are that you can share with us. We're learning of multiple aircrafts damaged. Also, in fact, a couple of rail bridges which were destroyed as well because of that. Passenger trains also were hit. Tell us about the damage caused due to this strike.
Yes, I hope I'm hearable this time. Yes, I hope I'm hearable, right?
Yes, faintly, but yes,
yes,
better than earlier.
Thank you so much. Lovely. First of all, we should understand this conflict between Russia and Ukraine was very well organized by last 20 years. And a lot of research centers from America and Europe was involved to organize such kind of conflict between 2 brother countries, like which they have 2 our countries, they have the common roots and historical tradition, everything were the same. If we are looking for the history Same conflict between Pakistan and India was very well organized, and Great Britain, they destroyed India, and they make different countries from the one country. That's why is a Western policy to prepare such kind of conflict for their benefits. And I am very optimistic, because all this damage and all this action from Ukrainian side, they can only increase our spirit to win on this war, because it's like the same like patriotic war. For us, for Russian nation, we're a peace-loving nation. We love peace, but we love justice. That's why our national leader is only one hope to make peace between Ukraine and Russia on the basic moral principles, like a dharmic leader who follow to dharma, to religious principles. And I am quite optimistic, because we can understand that a special terroristic attack was organized before the peacemaking conversation, before peacemaking meeting in Istanbul. It's again confirmation. Some Western forces, Western politicians, they don't want to create peace between our nations. And we should be patient, and at the same time, I believe that Russia will be recovered from this, and we will take care about our security of our nation. And this is only beginning. And again, during this conversation in Istanbul, it gives to us more moral rights to put all our agenda and all conditions which was already announced by our national leader. That's why we'll go with peace only on the condition of Russian Federation.
What will be the impact of this attack on peace talks? Will a shadow be cast?
I don't think that it will change anything. It will not change the course of events. You see, first of all, our strong position, if our leaders start to open this military operation, when a Russian-speaking population on the eastern part of Ukraine was completely destroyed by the attack of Ukraine, of course, this responsibility gives him power to complete this mission, this special operation. It will not change anything regarding position of Russian Federation. It's opposite. It will increase our power, our moral rights to put our agenda during the conversation in Istanbul.
Okay. Also, Dr. Dvoryanov, as far as, of course, these drone strikes are concerned, is it a setback for your intelligence as to how, it actually happened without you being aware?
See, first of all, we should understand that this conflict, this war with Ukraine is a proxy war, is a new generation, new level of war. And this AP drones involved, and intelligence involved, a lot of services involved in this proxy war. Of course, we can expect some new ways, tricky ways from Ukrainian, because they're very weak in battlefield. That's why they found some other ways to destroy our nation. But we should learn the history. It's completely impossible. During conversation with a famous journalist from United States of America, Tucker Carlson, our national leader explained deeply during 2 hours what was the historical condition of this conflict and how was relationship between Russia and Ukraine during last 3 centuries. And I should only just remind to all colleagues, all journalists from India, please carefully listen this interview. You will understand everything, and you will understand the future of this conflict, how we will remove this enmity from Ukrainian nation, and we will transform this enmity to love, to the peacemaking dialogue.
Now, reportedly, this was being planned, Andrea Lucidi, for 1.5 years. That's what the Ukrainians are claiming. It was a very thought through operation. Do you believe this is a setback for the Russian intelligence? Also, does this show that the next stage of drone warfare now that this conflict is taking?
You need to know that the Russian intelligence and the Russian security service every day works against attempt of terrorism in Russia. There are more than average one operation for a day against terrorism, because now the Ukrainian government, the Ukrainian authorities are working since years in these directions. So they contact, for example, people in Telegram or in WhatsApp and promise money for make some actions that can be fire against statal structures, or some graffiti against the state, for example. And we saw that also the Ukrainian structures, the Ukrainian special service use this method for sharing, for example, instructions for building explosive at home, and they promise some money for place this explosive device around Russia against railways, for example. Yesterday we saw an example of this. Two bridges in Russia blew up due to terrorism, and 7 people and more than 60 people, 7 people died, and more than 60 people was injured by this terrorism. And this terrorism comes from Ukraine. So this is, there are a lot of operations that the Secret Service of Ukraine, the Special Service of Ukraine make against Russia in this moment. And the operation of yesterday about the FPV drones.
Yes, we also have Ambassador Bhashwati Mukherjee with us. Let me quickly draw her in here. Ambassador Mukherjee, is this latest incident a big setback for peace efforts in Istanbul? How are you viewing this?
I think that this attack...
Ambassador Mukherjee, that question is for you.
I do believe that Uday, the Ukrainians have lost the war. The Russians have won the war. It's as simple as that. These are desperate measures, as indicated by our Russian colleagues, to try to balance out the negotiations, or to give the impression to the European Union, who would go to any extent, some of them, to bring down Russia, to say that with your money, your weapons, your drones, your ammunition, etc., we can strike deep inside Russia and we can do huge damage to Russia's war machine. That is not an argument that is wise to use against a nuclear weapon state, when Ukraine is not a nuclear weapon state and it is not a member of NATO. And according to NATO's constitution, NATO is not obliged to defend Ukraine if Russia strikes with even a small, what we call a dirty nuclear weapon. I think, coming from the land of Chanakya, it is foolish to pull too hard the tail of the bear or the tiger. I think that the Ukrainians would be well advised to stop these kind of highly dangerous military maneuvers, because they risk destroying their country. The West and the Americans are well known for moving out when wars go against them, whether it was Vietnam or then in Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, we saw the Afghans who collaborated with the Americans hanging onto the wheels of the huge aircraft which took off, because they knew that they would be executed by the new regime. So given the kind of reputation that the West and the Americans have when wars go against them, my advice to the Ukrainians would be exactly what our Russian colleagues have said. These are people, brothers joined at the waist, same culture, same civilization, same religion, unfortunately divided by the maneuvers of the West. And in the process, the Ukrainians have to understand. They have lost the war, they have lost territory, that territory is not going to be given back to them. They would have to agree to a ceasefire, which would basically mean each side stays where they are.
Yes.
If in the process they do these kind of measures, I don't think it has the slightest impact on the peace talks, because ultimately the Ukrainians will have to accept a peace that is acceptable to Russia.
Right.
And do these kind of desperate measures, Uday, is only going to make the peace longer to obtain, harder to obtain, and difficult for the Ukrainians to understand that Zelenskyy got them into a war where they have gained nothing, where they have lost territory and they've lost their people.
Okay. Wing Commander Bharat Bhushan, what are the lessons, for warfare from what we've seen yesterday in Russia. As we saw in Operation Sindoor as well, that the future of war is now drones. We saw that between India and Pakistan recently. As far as this attack is concerned by Ukraine on Russian air bases, airplanes being targeted, reportedly a covert operation that was being planned for a year and a half. That's what the Ukrainian authorities are saying. What are the lessons on warfare, on the future of warfare that can be drawn?
The future of warfare, actually the drones were started in the Armenian and Azerbaijan war. And I think that's where the drones came into play. But going back into the future, even we have to be careful as to how things pan out in future. So does everybody else. Imagine somebody hitting Russia so deep. I would go a little further on the strategic part of it. That is, if that attack has happened, it can't have been entirely by Ukraine. It can't be that the Americans or Western intelligence system did not know what was going to happen. How does Ukraine benefit by bombing or destroying the long-range bombers, which have never been used against Ukraine, nor will be used against them? The beneficiaries or advantage is only to the NATO and the other members if the Russian long-range bombers have been destroyed. Now, it comes to the next point. The war today, as I see it, is like the Pearl Harbor for Russia. There's no return. Russia is going to go full war and hit as hard as it can. As it is, Ukraine has lost its economy. They are going to lose their minerals. They have lost their grains. So Ukraine is the one which has lost everything in this contest of the West versus Russia. And I would only say that it's unfortunate that whatever they did, and it's something that Russia will not accept. And tomorrow we have to wait and see what Russia answers. I'm sure no self-respecting nation, if we could keep quiet after all this, like what happened to us a month ago, exactly something on a larger scale is bound to happen. And I would see missiles going from Russia over Ukraine and maybe Germany and France, because they are the countries which have been telling Ukraine that you can use our weapons deep in Russia. So now the next action is going to be the other European members of the European Union. And it's an evolving situation today. Warfare, which when it started, with stones and spears. Today we have come to a new dimension altogether.
Absolutely. Aditya Kothari, which direction now is this conflict headed in? Do you see it escalating further, or do you see it reaching now slowly to a conclusion?
So I think there are two perspectives to this. So if we believe the Ukrainian side, where they've basically said that we've done all of this without the US intelligence knowledge, which is believable given the showdown that happened in the United States between J.D. Vance, Trump, and Zelenskyy. What the Ukrainians are basically trying to extract as a consequence is they feel that they're not part of the entire peace process, because the US contention is that you do not have any cards to play, and as a consequence, let us make the deal for you. And what the Ukrainians also feel is that they are not only losing military prowess to Russia, but they're also losing ground to Russia. So the ground being Crimea, of course, in the grand scheme of things. But what they're mainly losing in the entire scheme is also their self-confidence as a nation. So which is what Zelenskyy is essentially trying to rally the troops around. So you have to understand that the people of Ukraine, if you speak to an average Ukrainian living in the West, living in the United Kingdom, Germany, etc., they are actually now pro-Zelenskyy much more than they were, a few years back. Because when the peace deal started, the Ukrainians demanded for a ceasefire, at least until the peace deal was being discussed. Given that, Russia is being constantly hitting Ukraine, even till a few days ago, the city of Zaporizhzhia was basically hit. They are more or less now rallying behind Zelenskyy, which is not a good sign from a peace perspective. So basically, the Ukrainian people are now also saying that, probably the war is the only solution. And now, given the fact that you've hit Russia so deep, 4,000 kilometers deep into the Siberian air bases, the Ukrainian narrative being that, they've taken out 1/3 of the air power of the Russians. We don't know the right numbers. Our Russian colleagues have said that it's only 6 aircraft, whereas the Ukrainian and the Western media are saying it's about 40. So we don't know what the real numbers are. But all in all, I don't see this dying down. The peace deals, the peace talks are going on as we speak in Turkey. We don't know what the details of those peace talks are.
Right.
But from a Russian perspective, I don't think they're going to hold back anymore.
All right. My thanks to all of our guests for joining us. We've run out of time. Let's slip into a very short break.